Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. As you said, in many ways a sad situation. Can I say to distinguished members of the European Parliament, I'm very grateful for the discussions I've had with some of you in the course of the last 2 days here. As you will have seen, last night Turkish police launched a major offensive to remove protesters from Taksim Square in Istanbul. There was intensive use of water cannon and tear gas, and violent scenes we saw in Ankara and Izmir too, and reports of widespread injuries. Once again, honourable members, police tactics are a major cause of concern. I followed events closely from the start and issued 2 statements, one through my spokesperson and then directly myself on the 9th of June. And last night I spoke with Foreign Minister Davutoglu. Throughout, of course, I've coordinated closely with my colleague and dear friend Commissioner Füle, who was on the ground in Turkey last week. He was meeting with the Prime Minister, as well as meeting with civil society representatives, and many of you will have seen what he said and the speeches that he gave, and I pay tribute to his work, not just then, but always. I think it's fair to say that we believe we've seen too many examples of excessive police force over these last 2 weeks. The close-range use of tear gas, water cannons, pepper spray, plastic bullets, against protesters who have been overwhelmingly peaceful. Several thousands have been injured, tens of them severely. Some have lost their sight due to excessive use of tear gas and pepper spray, and at least 3 have died. For their families, a serious situation has become a tragedy. I express again, on behalf of myself, of Stefan Füle and of you, deep sympathies to the bereaved and the injured. We've been very clear in the statements, and I repeat again, excessive use of force by members of the police against peaceful demonstrators must be swiftly and thoroughly investigated and those responsible held accountable. The environmental concerns of the initial demonstrators have developed into the wider concerns of a significant portion of society who feel that their voice is not heard today in Turkish politics. There is a real polarisation of opinion. Major AKP rallies in Istanbul and Ankara this weekend could risk adding to the tension when we need to see a de-escalation. The answer, I believe, and as we have said, is engagement, not antagonism. President Gül's call for peace and dialogue has been an important voice of moderation. Deputy Prime Minister Arinç has met union leaders and representatives of the protesters and promised that lessons will be learned about the need for greater public dialogue in future. Prime Minister Erdogan is due to meet representatives of the protesters today. This is an important opportunity to find a way forward based on dialogue, tolerance and mutual respect. We know that Turkey, as a candidate country, needs to aspire to the highest possible democratic standards and practices. These include the freedom to express opinion and assemble peacefully, the freedom of the media and freedom of religion, belief and thought. Democratically elected governments, even the most successful of them, which have enjoyed 3 election victories and have half the population's support, they still need to take account of the needs and expectations of those who don't feel represented. And peaceful demonstrations are a legitimate way for such groups to express their views. I've also been surprised by the initially sparse domestic media coverage given to the demonstrations in Turkey, and by attempts to condemn and restrict the use of social media, which has been the prime form of communication throughout. Freedom of the media is a concern in Turkey. It is right that the European Union should champion it as a channel to exercise freedom of speech. Social media too should not be seen primarily as a source of problems, but as a valuable conduit for communication, legitimate protest and dialogue. Honourable members, this is an important moment for Turkey, a chance for it to renew its commitment to European values, to embrace a culture which values diverse opinion, different lifestyles and open debate. Turkey's reforms over these past years have already been truly impressive. And let's remember that it is this Turkish government that has shown statesmanship, vision and bravery in embarking on a peace process to resolve the Kurdish question. So I am convinced it can meet the challenge too, and use this moment to take further steps forward in expanding fundamental rights and freedoms. this is not the moment to disengage from Turkey, but to engage more closely. And for Turkey to engage more closely with the EU too. My own foreign policy dialogue with Turkey is increasingly close and fruitful. I visited Ankara in April, President Van Rompuy in May. Our dialogue at the highest level must be kept up, all the more so when times are challenging. Last December's Council stressed the importance of active and credible accession negotiations and the need for those negotiations to regain momentum. We are on course to open a new negotiating chapter this month and within reach of a new visa dialogue and the signature of readmission agreements. In light of current events, we should engage with Turkey more on these negotiating chapters, most fundamental to its reform efforts. So, honourable members, our relationship with Turkey gives us a real opportunity to influence if we use it. We need to make the most of all the tools we have. And of course, Turkey needs to work with us. It's clear to me that the case for engagement is doubly compelling now. Thank you, Mr. President.